So what are the requirements of self-defense? Facing criminal charges and wondering if self-defense even applies to your case? Indiana law provides pretty clear guidelines for when and how self-defense can be claimed. My name is Ben Shoptaw. I'm with the Marc Lopez law firm, and we're here to guide you through this complex legal process of determining, do you have a valid self-defense claim? What kind of self-defense claim? So there's a huge importance in understanding self-defense laws, and misunderstanding the law could really hurt your case. And we see it all the time where people have a misunderstanding of what self-defense is, what it means, and how it can be argued. So there's certain core legal requirements for self-defense in Indiana. The first one is you're without fault. And the key point here is that the defendant, you, in this scenario, you can't have been the initial aggressor. So if you provoke violence or you willingly participate in a fight, self-defense may not apply unless you attempt to withdraw and communicate that intent to another party. In a previous video, I used a bar fight example. If you walk up behind someone and you punch them in the back of the head, you are the initial aggressor in that scenario. So generally speaking, if they fight back, you don't get to claim self-defense. So the next factor, do you have a right to be there? And here, the defendant must be in a place that they have a lawful right to be. So if you're trespassing or you're violating a court order, you may lose your right to claim self-defense, right? You don't always lose that right. Just because you might not have a right to be somewhere doesn't mean that someone could just physically harm you, but it is something that is case by case and that you need to understand. You also need to have a reasonable fear of danger. You must have a reasonable belief of imminent danger of serious bodily harm or death. So Indiana law recognizes subjective belief, but requires it to be objectively reasonable. And what that means is that person by person is going to have a different belief of maybe when they're in harm, right? Some people might believe they're in harm in certain scenarios where other people don't necessarily have that belief. And that's where the subjectivity comes in. But then the objectivity comes in to the fact that if a 5-year-old child comes up and pushes you in the leg, objectively, we're going to say that you probably, no matter whether you believed that you might have been in reasonable fear of harm, objectively, you shouldn't have believed that. Additionally, the danger must be immediate. Preemptive action without evidence of an immediate threat could undermine the claim. It's a could because there are some very specific examples where it might not, but generally speaking, you don't get to take preemptive action and then claim self-defense. There also has to be a proportional use of force. The force must not exceed what is reasonably necessary, right? If there is a non-lethal option that would suffice, then you shouldn't use deadly force, and that's generally going to disqualify you from arguing self-defense. And this is again an example of if someone were to shove you and then you were to pull out a knife and stab them, that's not a proportional response. You have now used deadly force where they did not. Now with self-defense, there is a burden of proof, and it is the state's responsibility to disprove self-defense. So if a self-defense claim is raised, the burden then shifts to the prosecution to disprove self-defense by disproving one or more elements beyond a reasonable doubt. And this is really why legal representation can matter, because self-defense can be very complex. There can be case law specific arguments, statutory specific arguments, and having an experienced attorney in your corner can really make it a win or a lose for you. So, at the Marc Lopez law firm, we have years of experience defending individuals that need to claim self-defense. We understand the nuances of self-defense law in Indiana. We go to trial on these things. Don't navigate these legal challenges alone. Contact us today for a free consultation to see if we can help. When your freedom is on the line, you need a law firm that fights for you. Call the Marc Lopez law firm at 317-632-3642. And remember, always plead the fifth.